What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Youtech. This is Mike. I'm here today with Alexis from HubSpot. How's it going, Chris?
Not bad, Mike. How about you?
I'm pretty good, man. It's Friday, so I'm feeling good.
Nice.
Yeah. So Chris, you are a channel account manager at HubSpot. You've been there for 12 years, which is
Correct.
Incredible. I'm sure you've seen like tremendous growth with the HubSpot platform and everything. But really what I want to dial into today for our audience is, at what point do you know when you should move to a CRM? And to piggyback off that, not to hit you with a double barrel question off the bat, but to piggyback off that, the HubSpot CRM is free, which I think is, part of the reason why I love to have this conversation with you today is because you can just, help our clients very easily without them having to fork over any money or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. I think, a lot of people I talk to will use HubSpot CRM or any type of CRM, right, in general. Typically when you kind of like grow your sales team, you start to grow out of your Excel spreadsheet. So the harder part about not having a CRM in place is when you're thinking about all those different types of communications you're having with your prospects, with your customers, where's that data getting logged, right? So if that rep leaves the company, if there's some type of an issue, you want to be able to go back and look and say, well, what was that communication like, whether it's a prospect or a customer. So just having the ability to store those touch points inside of a CRM is helpful. It's also helpful, I think, when you're thinking about as a sales rep, when you're prospecting to somebody or you're trying to forecast what your deal pipeline looks like for the month, having a way to standardize that. Let's start with maybe more on the contact side, just the ability to say, I want to see a list of all my contacts in Chicago that like pepperoni pizza and have a size 13 shoe, right? You can kind of see that subset of your list, focus on those people, be a little bit more targeted with your outreach, after that group. And I think that's obviously helpful to have some type of platform in place to make you efficient, effective. And then same with you think about on the sales side, like on the deal side, I should say, like when you're thinking about, what deals are going to come in this month? What does my pipeline look like? How long are deals getting stalled at those different stages, or just having an overall sales process of your deal pipeline? That's another reason why, CRM is helpful. So I think like outgrowing that, having something in place. I think anyone at the C level or at the leadership level, that has employees, you definitely want a CRM in place. Not to big brother, the reps that are working for you, but more to just have something for you to see, like, okay, yes, are these people working? A, but B, I know if that rep leaves or if something happens that I can go back and review what with all the conversations that are happening there. So.
That's not to cut you off, but that's kind of how we use it here. So we use Sales Pro, but we also have the CRM functionality and everything. And two ways. I mean, we've got our sales team tied to it, and all their emails and everything are logged. So, if for any reason the salesperson were to ever leave, all their previous conversations with various people, or even, people forget things. Like,
right.
A year goes by and you're like, I don't
remember that person.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's happened plenty of times. And same thing too. All of our project managers have all their accounts tied to our HubSpot as well. So client communication, it's great. If someone's out a day, and we can go and look and see, okay, this is what they've been talking about without
right.
having to, call up someone who's off in Michigan, having some alone time with their family. I don't want to bug people. So I think it's great for that, but more importantly than that is just having everything logged so that you can segment and look at various parts of your audience. Because
right.
I mean, just to go again anecdotally here, but we have so many clients in so many different industries who fit so many different profiles. I mean, for us to create a buyer persona and say, Industrial Ian is our guy. I mean, he's one of many,
Right.
So it is very helpful for us to kind of dial in and start to figure some of that stuff out, like you said.
Yeah, and I think what I've found we're working with a lot of customers throughout the years is when you're getting buy-in from salespeople, this will be a common objection. Like, my reps will never do it. They don't want to be Your
Yeah.
big brother. They don't want to log their touch points. So whatever CRM you go with, of course, I'm a little biased towards HubSpot, but whatever CRM you go with, I mean, the big things I would hone in on is how are we not going to put extra effort on the reps plate, but actually make them a little bit more efficient. So things like auto logging emails from Gmail or Outlook, like don't make the reps have to copy and paste that. Let those auto log. A good mobile app, right? Some of us are on the road nowadays or work from home, so make sure there's a good mobile app that CRM has, as well as maybe some permissions. Sometimes there are certain things that you don't want to share, across the whole organization. So maybe you want to be able to restrict people's access to, seeing their colleagues' deals, or if there's something along those lines. So those are probably the big ones I think through: ease of use, mobile app, and then permissions to kind of block people out, if that made sense.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And then, there's more to just the HubSpot CRM. I mean, since that's the platform you're most familiar with, let's just talk HubSpot.
Right.
But, the HubSpot CRM's got the marketing side and everything as well, which I think
Right.
I also like you to touch on that and some of the benefits.
Yeah, definitely. Let me. There's one other thing I should have mentioned too on the sales side, and then we'll touch up into marketing. So one of the other things when you're talking to sales reps and trying to get their kind of buy-in or get them to, because that's a big problem with CRMs. People buy in and sit on a shelf, right? We need to get buy-in from the reps. So there are other tools that come on the sales professional level or enterprise level that are made specifically for the reps. And there's other platforms that do the same type of stuff. Again, not to say you have to use HubSpot. It's nice because it's all in one with us. But really what you want to do is, how do you make the reps more effective and efficient? So there's some sales enablement tools that are out there where essentially a rep could automate their sales process, right? So I could say, if I was prospecting to you, Mike, I could go into my Gmail account or my Outlook account and have a series of emails go out to you automatically, have a series of tasks for me to call you and find you on LinkedIn, show up in my to-do list and show up in my inbox as well. So when you think about how do we get more buy-in from a rep and implementing a CRM, it's also like, well, how do we make them more effective? If you're making them more efficient and they can save time, well, that's a big win. There's other tools like in HubSpot and again other systems where if I sent you a prospecting email, I could see if you open it, I could see if you click the link in it, I could see if you view that page on my website. So when you give the reps a little bit more data, that objection from them of like, oh, I don't want to log my deals, I don't want to log my meetings, it kind of goes away because a lot of that gets logged automatically. But on top of that, they see the value in whatever platform you're using because you're making them more efficient and effective with their time.
I'm glad you brought me back to that, because I think that's really important. And, just looking at it from, again, my perspective, seeing, how we've been able to take our sales team and make them more productive, where, it's not, you don't want to run into a situation where more inputs equals more output. Like that's great, but then they're equal, so you're inputting the same amount of effort to get that additional output. Let's try to reduce the input and increase the output, right? And
Definitely.
Our guys use like sequences all the time. They've got sequences for different industries, and everything's all broken out for them like that. And yeah, the automation's huge, but at the same time, I think to talk a little marketing philosophically, you don't want to make it too automated either. So I think there's a good amount of strategy and tactics that go into some of that outreach and everything at the same time as well.
100%. I would definitely get marketing's feedback for those emails because we don't want to be too pushy. It's this marketing analogy. You want sales and marketing aligned. They're really the flip side of the coin from each other. So make sure you have some of that. And I'll be the first to admit it. I'm not the best grammatically. I might want someone to take a look at maybe some of my templates that has a bit more comfort there, but I'm pretty good at selling to people, right? So I know kind of what to say and when to say it. So I think you want to have that combination. There's also, to tie in the marketing side, there's also some collateral that you'll want marketing to create. So those PDFs, those PowerPoints, all those things that we want to add to those different outreaches, for as you're prospecting your customers. A lot of times marketing is the one actually creating those collateral pieces and then uploading it into the system. The reps can grab them and again, get notified if someone's viewing that type of document. The other thing I'd really push on, I forgot I should have said this at the beginning, anyone who's really process driven. So if you're a business owner, if you're in marketing or in sales and you want to have a process so that when you scale and grow, when you hire those new reps, when someone leaves, when whatever the situation might be, you're not having to reinvent the wheel every time. You've got a process in place. You've got a sequence library for them to pull from. You've got a deal pipeline that talks about the stages. You've got, integration to their inbox and all these things that they can kind of start with and hit the ground running. So I think anyone process driven, that's another reason why you want a CRM. We want to standardize that process and kind of take that Wild West attitude of like, whatever my reps do, I don't care. It's like, let's have a process for those reps to follow, if it makes sense.
That one hits home with me. That one hits home big time. I mean, we've grown, I want to say exponentially since I've been here, and like, the 5.5 years I've been here. And man, I mean, to go from where we were to where we're at now, it takes so much manpower to onboard someone, right?
Yep.
I mean, if you don't have a standardized process in place, it's like you got to sit with them and show them and go through it. And maybe it's not even mapped out. So you teach one guy one way, then you teach another guy another way, and everything's
well, and think about like the HubSpot's big on the whole flywheel idea, which is more. I think Amazon's the one who kind of came up with that. But think about even post sale. So now we've gone through a sales process. It's post sale, and now you're handing this person off to a customer success team or whoever that does the onboarding, whatever the situation might be. Without a CRM, you can't go back and look at the sales process and those conversations because there might be some friction there, like that rep might have oversold or underdelivered or whatever. And unless you have that data there, it's really hard to kind of hone in on what, from a business perspective, where those gaps are, what's slowing down your flywheel, and where that friction is. Where if everything's in one place, you can really go back and see and communicate internally to team members, directly out of a CRM. So, think of it as that whole level, right? From the sales, from the first day that marketing gets them as a lead, to the sales outreach, to the post-sale stuff. You want to have one system to track that, and really, as you serve your customers, figure out, hey, where was that friction point? Where was that issue? And try to look at, maybe there's a rep, maybe it's part of your process, but like, how do we improve that? And without the data in one place, you'll never be able to do that. So it's, maybe another reason to do it.
Well, yeah. And something that you've said a couple times now on the call is having the marketing and sales alignment. And I've seen recently some ideas that I think are brilliant, where some companies are going out and they have a product team and then they have a revenue team.
Yep.
That's how they're, and then maybe like a customer service team as well. And the revenue team is combined. Sales and marketing, it's revenue, and they're one team altogether.
Right.
And I think that's really cool, that concept like that.
I'm biased being at HubSpot. I love my marketing team. They generate leads for me since I came here in 2008. Will never say anything negative about them. And I think we internally we've had, since back from startup days, we had weekly, we call them marketing meetings, where we have sales and marketing come in. We talk about big wins, what's working well, how we're helping you. It's also beneficial when you think about, like, the front line is really the front line of all this stuff is going to be the salespeople. They hear the objections, they get those common questions. So if marketing isn't reaching out and talking to sales, say, hey, what are those problems you're having? What are those issues you're having? And try to create some collateral to overcome those objections, it's really hard for you to be on the same page, right? So we want to have that insight. If you're creating another ebook, ask sales, what are those 5 problems you always get questions about, and create an ebook on that topic. So having that alignment together is super helpful. And then the nice part about having a CRM or system like HubSpot is, as you're doing your marketing inside of HubSpot, maybe good transition to some of the marketing stuff, but as you're doing your marketing inside the system, it's all logged in one place. So we can see how many leads did we get from that email blast and that Google AdWords campaign and Facebook ad or whatever it might be. So being able to actually track that, how the sales reps follow up with that lead, having some type of another big one that we could probably spend a whole other call on is like, do you have a service level agreement between sales and marketing? So, if marketing is goal to generate 1,000 leads a month, well, then sales should have some type of SLA that says, I'm going to follow up with those leads 5 times in 2 weeks, right? Or some type of agreement that says, if we're generating leads, you got to follow up with them. Otherwise, no one's doing their giving them a fair shake. So I think, that's another part of sales and marketing, is having some type of an SLA between the teams.
Yeah, that's really cool. I might take that back to my One other thing before we transition into the marketing, I was way out of something that, but one more thing before that. You mentioned the flywheel, and I really like that concept. But just for our viewers here, Can you describe the difference between maybe the flywheel and the traditional marketing funnel? Or?
Yeah, definitely. So the traditional marketing funnel, which I still think the funnels are, my 2 cents, they're valuable. You want to look at your funnel, but from a company perspective, what a flywheel is looking at is kind of got like in the middle is the customer, right? So instead of the output being the customer or funnel, the middle is the customer. And on the outside of that flywheel, you've got sales, you've got marketing, and you've got your service, right? Your post-sale side. So what you think about what's making those customers happy, there's a kind of a flywheel that's going as fast as it can go. That means there's no friction between those departments as you're handing people off. So when you think about the transition from sales to or marketing to sales, the transition from sales to service, where are the challenges there? Where is the friction happening that's slowing down your company's growth and your process? And again, a lot of companies don't even think about that, right? They don't think about, hey, this part of my process said one thing, but this part was something different. So having that ability to kind of circle it together and tie it together is what the kind of flywheel is all about. But again, the simplest way to put it, instead of the customer being at the output, the customer's in the middle. We're trying to solve for the customer through those different levels.
And everyone's all aligned all the way through.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a company I worked with at one point that, not to go on a side tangent, but they told me that they found out that the sales reps, after they sold something and they went to service, there was a kind of a difference of like how the sales reps were selling it. So they actually required their sales reps to sit on all the onboarding calls for any customer they signed up. So if there was an issue, it was together right there. And what it did is they changed some of the comp plans for the reps as well to make sure they did that. But what it did is actually improves retention for the company because it was a much smoother process. It wasn't a little bit of a tell you one thing and then you get something different. It was like, hey, this was exactly what you're getting. This helped with their process, and again, at the end of the day, it helped with their retention because it was a much smooth. They were losing a lot of customers in that first 30 to 60 day window because of that transition. So they wanted to hone in on that. So having that customer in the middle in those different departments, there's a bunch of ways to kind of skin that cat.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that because we do the same thing with our sales reps and our project managers. And I didn't even realize, that it was, we're doing a great thing. I didn't even realize.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a lot of companies that don't do it. They'll just say, okay, like here's some notes and good luck. You're kind of on your own. And you kind of lose that. The person that the customer buys from is kind of like they bought from that person and they bought from that company, right? But that person played a part in it. So sometimes they feel like, I'm kind of getting kicked to the curb from the person I bought from. But having them involved, I think, is really beneficial. So it's great that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit then about the marketing, finally. So I think one of the big benefits of having a CRM tied to your marketing efforts is that you can see the full path all the way through. And then even beyond, like I'm talking about it as a funnel, but it goes beyond that into the flywheel and everything, where the customers, not the end result, but once they become a customer, you gotta keep them and everything. So to me, I see a lot of value in having, how do I put this into words? So let's say someone comes in through a Google ad, right? They come in, they sign up on our landing page. We're able to see all their activity, how they're viewing our site. We can put in lead scoring, everything like that, have an email shoot off. When someone reaches a certain point, all that, those triggers. And then at the end of the day, it was a meeting set. Was the meeting ran? Did the deal close? Was it closed won, closed lost? What was the reason? Tying all that back together rather than being in my Google Ads platform as a marketer, seeing, my clicks and my conversions and saying, I had 1,200 conversions. That's great. But what really happened at the end?
Right.
That's where it ties it all together for me.
Yeah, I think what you said, it's, especially from your perspective and a marketer's perspective, it's huge to be able to follow that person. It kind of goes back to that SLA between sales and marketing too. Like the fact that you're generating some high quality leads, you want to ensure that someone's following up with them. We want to see all those different pages of content, and then we want to score them. We want to automate content to them. So, really it's important that your CRM and your email tool are talking to each other, and you're in your website, right? So when you think about really one of the nice things about HubSpot, and then again, other tools out there, but if you look at like a standalone email tool, you wouldn't get this functionality. Think of a simple fact of like I have to manually upload a CSV file every time I'm sending my newsletter because I don't know who became a customer and I don't want to send them that newsletter, or I don't know who moved from list A to list B. You have to do those uploads. With an all-in-one system, you can track that and have that automatically happen. So if this person denotes that their job title is A and it changed to B, well, that can automatically move them to another list and have them send emails. So I think from a time-saving perspective, having your email tied into your CRM and talking to your website, that's like the best package, right? That's the best thing you can have because it's all automated. And then also it's helping you not only see that full history and timeline of what that person's doing and how they're engaging with you, what content they're doing, but as you mentioned earlier, being able to notify the sales rep, hey, your lead just hit a score of a 90. Your lead just went on the pricing page. That's, again, where we get that sales and marketing alignment and that sales engagement, because now I'm telling a rep, this guy's on the pricing page. Go call him, right? Best time. So you want to have that type of all-in-one piece, which you don't get with, I call it a Frankenstein approach. So you don't get that when you've got one tool for email, one tool for social, one tool for B and C and D, and like you kind of have this monster that you're trying to, like you said, figure out what's working for Google Analytics. And Google, nothing bad to say about Google. I love them. They're a company that invested in HubSpot. Back in the day, all positives. But again, that's a bit more IT focused, where a platform like HubSpot is more marketing and sales focused and gives you kind of like the reports that you want. But that's my 2 cents. Like the biggest win for that marketer is to save them time and to make them more efficient. And then the third one that I didn't really touch on is like what happens when it goes to that sales rep and they become a customer. How do I actually calculate an ROI for those emails, or for my AdWords campaigns, or for my, just my native, social media posts? The ability to be able to track visits to customer data and see what that first touch, what first got them there, maybe all the other touches along the way, some attribution. That's the type of reporting that marketers love. And it helps you, like you said, get that ideal customer and really hone in on that and try to create more people in that follow suit.
That's how you retain your job as a marketer, man.
Right.
you got to be.
You show your value. You know what I mean? Like that's it. You show your value.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and the trend that I'm seeing, between the marketing and the sales side is exactly what we talked about earlier. More data that you're gonna have that you wouldn't otherwise have, and then more efficiency. That input.
More efficient. It's also, I think from some of the hidden cost piece, like, okay, how much time does it take for me to manage 5 different pieces of software, 5 different contracts, 5 different renewals? What type of support do I get? So whatever platform you go with, you want to think about what do you have for support, right? So is there on-demand training videos? Is there a knowledge base for me to go to? Is there a chat feature? Like, what does that look like as well? And I think when you're setting your company up for success, you want to make sure that you're comfortable with what the platform you have. And the play way I'm not going to say is to insult an IT person or that division. You want the people using the tool to have input on the decision, not just like someone in IT says, here's the best CMS platform, here's the best CRM, here's the best email tool, because they're not the ones actually using it on the day-to-day. So having that feedback for the user, I think, is valuable as well.
It's funny you mentioned this. I called HubSpot support twice yesterday.
Nice.
Both times were great though.
Both
times were great. I was able to get, quick answers right away, and my issues were, trivial things that I probably should have been able to figure out myself, but still they were happy to talk to me. It was great.
Right. And I think that's like any tool, any software, especially HubSpot, like we're always growing, adding more to it. So it's tricky to know and keep up with every new feature, or maybe where something moved from where it was. So you want to just be confident that whatever platform you go with, you have some support and you have some guidance. There's nothing worse than, you kind of get sold, this is the best platform, and then you find out, well, it's a 6-month implementation process, and it's going to cost me another $30,000 for this and that. We want simple, we want easy and user friendly, right? And then you want that for engagement. Now, to me, on like the leadership side, marketing, sales, leadership, or just company leadership, reporting and ROI is big too, right? Maybe those day-to-day features aren't as, doesn't really matter to the CEO, but the CEO wants people to go to a dashboard and say, all right, what am I forecasting for this month? How many leads is marketing generated this month? What are my top emails this month? Like a quick snapshot. So having it's almost like what you do as a marketer to your clients. You want the software to fit those different personas. The need of the CEO is different from the need of the actual user. So having everyone happy with what that platform makes it a little bit easier to streamline forward.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. And then let's say once the customer's brought in and everything, the marketing efforts have completed themselves, the sales efforts completed themselves, you guys also have a customer service type solution
Yeah.
in the platform as well?
Yeah, there's on the free version, there's actually a ticketing pipeline, so you can actually create tickets and have those tied back to those contacts and companies that you've sold to. As you go to some of the paid versions, there's other things like automatic surveys, so you can like tie surveys into when those tickets get closed. You can send NPS surveys to your clients. That's really good in the Flywheel approach. Like, let's survey our customers 60 days after they sign up to where was our flaws? Like, what gaps do we need to fill? Or every 3 months or something like that. So surveying, getting the pulse of your customer base, and then automating your process. So if they say something negative, let's notify the rep. Let's send them a gift card. Let's do ABC. If they give you a positive one, let's again notify the rep. Let's ask for a review. Right. So having that all tied together, it comes back to that Flywheel experience. Like, how do we get their pulse, and then based upon what that is, make the appropriate decision.
That's awesome. I feel like
yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. I mean, we do, surveys and things, but we'll send out like a Google form.
Right.
That's about the extent of it. And it's kind of manual, and then we got to come through the results individually and all that.
Right. And then it comes back to that all in one with HubSpot to have that. The other thing when you think about a lot of customer success managers and like that team of onboarding, they've got other goals of retention, right? Or of saving customer support team time. You're sick of getting 1,000 phone calls for the same question. You're sick of, having to kind of repeat the same thing over and over. So the other thing you can do on some of the professional enterprise level and service is you can create a knowledge-based section of your website. So all those common FAQs, create those as articles. Let people, DIY their answers by doing a Google search, and now your team didn't even have to get on the phone, right? Or you can use like a chat bot to look up that article. So again, your team didn't spend their time. So when you think about the keys there for those support and customer success, it kind of two different roles. Support just wants to help people with one issue. Customer success wants to probably see the health score of that customer, and maybe make choices based upon like the growth of that customer and how they are from that perspective. So there's a lot on the service side you can do as well. And the big thing I would say there is you having one tool to manage it, having it in one place, it just makes that communication a lot easier, right? Versus having the Frankenstein piece.
Yeah, I can speak to the Frankenstein piece. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Chris. I did notice, you said at the beginning that the pepperoni pizza comment, Chicago pizza, and I think you're a New York guy, right?
Boston, yeah. So yeah.
Well, if you had to choose Chicago or New York pizza.
It's funny. My wife's from New York, and my good friends who live in town, they're from Chicago, right outside Chicago. So this is actually an ongoing argument that no one likes deep dish. Forget about the deep dish. That's not even the best type. So I'm going to say for this call, Chicago. I'm going to go with Chicago. But I'm not going to lie. I do like a good New York pizza. The one thing I'll say is someone who doesn't live in either city, be thankful for what you got. 'Cause I have some junk pizza around me, and it's definitely not on par.
Well, pizza's good.
Exactly.
It's not, though. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate your time today. It's awesome talking to you, and
same here.
I think our audience got some good things here, so I really appreciate it.
Cool. It's been great to chat with you as well.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
See ya.